I guess after the webinar is done, this video will be posted. Also, before we go further, I'd like to invite Helena, who will be doing the land acknowledgement.
We acknowledge we are hosted on the lands of the Mississauga of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples.
Thank you very much, Helena. Helena is one of the students here at Beaches, and I believe she's a student in our grade 5-6 class. There you go. Thank you, Helena. Just a little bit of a background about myself. My family and I, we've been here at Beaches for about 6 years. We have 3 kids at the school currently. We have kids in grades 5, grade 2, and SK. And one of the things that drew us to the school was just as a parent, just being able to be involved in the day-to-day aspects of our children's education, which is a very unique aspect to being part of Beaches. Also, what we've grown to enjoy at the school is the sense of involvement with all the other parents and being able to getting to know everyone and so forth. On the agenda today, Rueda, our principal, will just start off by saying a few words. Then we'll move on to a brief introductory video about our school. Then we'll have some parents and teachers responding to pre-submitted questions. And then we'll do a live Q&A. So at this moment, I'd like to pass it on to Rueda.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Just a bit about myself. So I've been an educator for about 27 years now. And in that time, I was a teacher for 14 years, teaching anywhere from grade 3 to grade 6, special education, ESL. And most of my career was in one school. After that, I was a vice principal for about 3.5 years, and now a principal for going on my 10th year. I've been a principal at 3 different schools, 3 very different schools. 2 were in Scarborough and now at Kimberley Beaches. And I think my experiences in every school has shaped me as a leader and has provided me with what I need. My own philosophy and belief is that it takes a community, and I see the school as the hub of the community. So when I found out I'm going to Beaches and I saw that the whole philosophy of the Beaches community was parent engagement and experiential learning, I was very excited about that because I truly believe that it takes the community, parents being involved in their child's learning, enriches the child's education, and is supportive of what we're doing at the school. So just a bit about the Beaches program. The Beaches program does follow the Ontario curriculum, but it is a strong emphasis on family involvement as well as the experiential learning. About the admission process is families apply, and it is the lottery process. So the lottery usually takes place the 8th of March, and families will be notified. We do have to comply with the ministry mandate of caps in the elementary panel. So we have 10 spots in junior kindergarten, and from SK on to grade 5, it depends on whether families will be returning or not. So at this point, we don't know. That information goes out to families. Letters go out to see if they'll be returning in February. And once we have that, then we'll know whether there's spots in the other grades. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Rueda. I think next now we'll be having a look at a video that just gives everyone a bit of a background about our school. Right now, things are a little bit different because of COVID-19, but the video provides a good representation of our school. I believe Aaron will turn that on very soon.
Hi, my name is Ray, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about Beaches Alternative School. I've been a student here since junior kindergarten, and now I am in grade 5. In this video, you'll hear from me and some other people about what it's like to be part of the Beaches community. Beaches is part of the Toronto District School Board. We're a public school and we follow the Ontario curriculum. Even though we learn about the same things that all the kids in Ontario learn about, we do it in a bit of a different way. First of all, our school is a small community and pretty much everyone knows each other. We work hard on our schoolwork, but we aren't competitive. We're more about cooperation. All of our classes are small split grades, and we have really kind and caring teachers. Like most schools, a lot of our learning is done in the classroom, but we also get to learn outside the classroom. We go on a lot of field trips, have nature mornings once a month where we learn outside, and have family Fridays once a month too, where our whole family is invited to come in and work on creative projects with us. Most of those things are on hold this year because of COVID, but they're still part of what makes beaches special, and everyone's excited to get back to doing them once it's safe again. Now, a few other people from the beaches community will give you some more details about what it's like here.
Hi there, and welcome to Beaches Alternative School. My name is Susan, and I'm one of the teachers in the kindergarten room. This school really is a community, and you'll find as your children get to know other friends, you'll also be connecting with other families, and it's wonderful to see the friendships that blossom here. Our class really does connect with the older kids. We do reading buddies, and then Family Friday, a lot of the kids are working together in different activities. So it's a wonderful place for learning.
My favorite thing about beaches is you can ask anyone anything and they'll always be happy to give you the answer.
You have all the fun things you want to have, like nature walks and all that stuff, and you get to hold people's hands. It's really fun to have that.
One of my favorite things about beaches is winter camp. I love being able to hang out with my friends and their brother and sisters all weekend. We have a talent show. Everyone does the thing that they're best at.
I like beaches because we have a lot of field trips some other schools don't.
The traditions and events that we have in place at beaches give us a structure that brings us together in community building. After being here a while, you'll notice that there's a connection between students, teachers, and parents that is truly unique. It helps to ground our kids and gives them a deep sense of pride in their school.
Hi, I'm Venus. I love to skate the whole school. It's so much fun to skate with our friends.
Hi, my name is Stella, and I wanted to say the best thing about beaches is nature morning. Once I went with my grade 34 class and we saw a coyote. That was great.
Beaches is fun because you get to do melt beads at Family Fridays.
Family Friday, everyone's family comes and we do arts and crafts. We take turns and sometimes we go wherever you want. Sometimes we bead and every room has a different craft.
I like beaches because it's a community school, so you know everybody in the school, and when the school does group activities, you can work with anybody and feel comfortable.
Okay, great. Thank you, Aaron. So next up on the agenda for tonight is that we're going to be answering some questions for you guys. And I'd like to introduce Susan, who is the teacher for our JK-SK classes. And she'll start off by answering some of these questions.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. I've received a few questions put to me about the kindergarten program, and they are about attending part-time. So the kindergarten program is the 2-year program that the Ontario Ministry has put together that is full-day learning for 2 years. But we certainly understand that some families do have a requirement or a need to maybe start a little bit more slowly, maybe just to adjust to the day learning, or maybe sleep schedules are not quite there to manage a full day, or perhaps there's some other concerns around attending full day. We certainly can work with you and come up with a plan, and we welcome you to start potentially part-time. The goal will, however, be to attend full-time, because that is how the children learn. We have programming that goes throughout the entire day, the morning and the afternoon. And you may find that your child is asking to come in the afternoon because they realize that perhaps they're missing stories that their friends are talking about, or just some of the activities we do. So there is not a part-time option per se, but we're willing to work with you to sort out any situation you might have where you think perhaps attending mornings only is good to start with. But our goal is to expand to full day learning for the 2 years. Those were just the questions I got, Nick, from ahead of time. Perhaps there'll be some more after. Nick, I think your mic's not on.
Sorry about that, guys. Our next teacher up to answer a few questions is Carol, and Carol is our grade 3-4 teacher.
I do this all day, every day now. You'd think I would know to turn on my mic. Sorry about that. Thanks, Nick. Yes, my name is Carol Bell, and I'm the grade 3-4 teacher at Beaches, as Nick said. I've taught for a number of years at a few different schools, from grades sort of 3 to 6 and special education, as well as phys ed. So that's sort of a little bit about my background. I also received a couple of questions ahead of time that I'd like to try to address. I have to say that some of those questions have already been addressed in Roweda's introduction and then the short little video clip. But just to reiterate a little bit, one question I received was, do we follow a set curriculum? And yes, as Roweda said, we follow the provincial curriculum guidelines. So that is standard in our school. This curriculum's the same, but the way we approach it is slightly different. It's a more hands-on approach, experiential learning, and then as some of the students in the video said, we do a lot more, take a lot more field trips. Again, not this year, but once COVID is over and things, taking more field trips so that we can apply some of our in-class learning out in the community. So those are some ways that we take the standard provincial curriculum, but apply it a little bit differently and approach it differently on a day-to-day basis. The second question I received was, what does a typical day at Beaches look like? The daily timetable itself looks fairly similar to most schools. We have recess and lunch integrated with the Kimberley students as well, and shared staff between Beaches and Kimberley, which works out really well. So we share a teacher librarian and a music teacher and a phys ed teacher, and teams and clubs are also open to both Kimberley and Beaches students. So there's a lot of interaction amongst the students, which is great also. So again, it's the way we approach the subject or the curriculum each day that is a little bit different. The timetables are fairly similar to what most people would expect for other regular schools. The other question I received is there support, or what does the support look like for students with possibly dyslexia or ADHD or other processing issues? We do have a special education teacher at Beaches, and currently it's a 0.5 position, so half-time dedicated to special ed support for students. And so small group support is available for students if necessary. And students are also accommodated through differentiated instruction in our classrooms. And if a student has an IEP or there's a need to develop an IEP when a student's at Beaches that requires a modified program, then we follow that program that's just designed as part of the IEP as well. The focus on experiential learning at Beaches does work quite well for some students with processing issues, mostly because of the more hands-on and experiential focus that we have. It allows students to share their learning in a fairly broad way. So for some students, our approach fits very well with their learning styles. Okay, again, as Susan said, I'm open to further questions after the presentations are over, or the formal part of it. I'd like to introduce Maya, who also will be answering some questions. Good to see you, Maya.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maya Fowley, and I started at Beaches 6 years ago. I'm currently on a leave, so I'm really excited to see all my coworkers here, who I regard as friends, and it's really exciting to be a part of tonight. I am returning in the near future and will be at Beaches next year. So I did receive some questions about special education and French. I teach special education at Beaches for half the day, and the other half is French. So the first question was, and I also received some questions about where the grade 6 students typically go after Beaches, which is a really good question. First question was, what are some of the feeder schools that kids normally go to after Beaches? And a related question was, what does the transition look like from grade 6? Where do students typically go? How do they do with the transition? So most of our students, when they graduate from Beaches, will attend their home school. We've had students attend Glen Ames, Bowmore. It depends on what neighborhood they live in and what their designated home school is. There are also some alternative schools that some students apply to that are enrollment is based on lottery. So Quest is one of the alternative schools that some students apply to, also East. And Equinox is inside the same building as Rodin. Equinox goes until grade 8, so some Beaches students apply to Equinox as well, and that's also a lottery school. As far as the transition goes, the grade 5-6 teacher at Beaches informs families of all of the application deadlines, all of the processes that are involved in applying anywhere sort of outside of the homeschool, like at any of the alternative schools. And families are given information on info nights, special nights to attend at the school during normal circumstances, obviously. I know that in the past year, some of the information was given through various PowerPoints and virtual opportunities for families to learn more about some of the alternative schools. So that's how we help support with the transition. The next question I received was, how do you support children with learning disabilities? Another great question. So we are a regular TDSB school, and we provide the same kinds of supports that you would be able to have in a TDSB school that has a resource and special education teacher. If a student has designated supports as part of their IEP, they might receive, for instance, resource support, and that would involve receiving support in their homeroom classroom. I work very closely with the grade 5-6 teacher, Rebecca, so I provide supports to some students in the classroom. Special education in the TDSB is very much integrated as for the current approach to special education. So the supports are given as much as possible in the homeroom environment. I also support the 3-4 classroom. So typically I'll be in those classrooms supporting students with their ongoing work, trying to make it so that the students can receive some differentiated work, but as close to the regular homeroom program as possible. I'm also the MART at Beaches, which means that I help facilitate a lot of the special education meetings. So if students require special assistive technology or devices, I can help them apply for special laptops to use in their homerooms as well, and do some training on how to use assistive technology in the classroom. On rare occasions, we do have the opportunity for a bit of withdrawal support if children need to work on some more foundational skills, but as much as possible, we try and provide support in the classroom. And another question, so a question about the French program. How deep is the French language taught at Beaches? So we adhere to the Ontario curriculum for the French program, and it's divided into 4 different strands of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. The way that I teach French is quite active. I use a lot of different games, conversational opportunities. We don't necessarily go any deeper than any other school. It just really depends on the program that's taught. And you know, the different teachers have different ways of teaching the French program. We have a number of different programs that we draw upon, that I draw upon in the school. So yeah, a lot of active games, and going sort of more in depth, especially with the writing strand. As the grades advance into grade 6, students are writing longer compositions, etc., and working on verb tenses, more language structure. And what's your experience working with younger kids with expressive speech delays? That was the last question I received. So if there's a younger child, like for instance, a child in kindergarten who is showing an expressive speech delay, there would be a formal process that we would go through as part of the special education process. And we would first schedule a meeting where parents can be included, and the speech language pathologist who works with our school would be in attendance at that meeting, as well as the principal and special education consultant. We would talk about the child's needs and strengths, and then if the team decides that a speech referral is warranted, we would go forwards so that our speech language pathologist can assess the student to see if they should receive supports. And at that point, the student may receive some support sessions of speech therapy. A speech language pathologist would come into the school to provide some support to the child. Also, the homeroom teacher would be able to liaise with myself as the special education teacher, as well as the speech and language pathologist, about different kinds of strategies to use in the classroom. Like modeling of articulation strategies, opportunities for social communication, all that kind of thing. So that is it for my questions. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Maya. Next up, we're going to have a few parents answering some questions. Our first parent is Lisa.
Hi, can everybody see me and hear me? Okay, excellent. Well, I've been a parent at Beaches for, I think, maybe 6 years now. And I have to say that it was kind of emotional seeing that Beaches video, because we have not been able to, hang out and connect and have that, warm, fuzzy Beaches feeling for a long time. But that has been a big part of Leo's, my kid over there, is just imitating me while I'm talking. So that's amazing. So I guess our journey to Beaches was that my daughter Hazel, who is now 14 years old and in grade 9, in grade, just kind of had a bit of a rough time at her local public school. Not anything really too terrible or anything, but the class size, in her 3rd grade year, her class size was 34 kids, and she was really kind of just felt like she was falling through the cracks in some kinds of ways. And she's a pretty energetic person, and the teacher limited her to 3 questions a day, which felt really not like a thing to inspire kids to feel like they were really owning their education. And another big part of our experience at Wilkinson was that over the time we had been there, it seemed to be kind of a lockdown against parents for coming into the school. And so in that 3rd grade year, I I saw my girl Hazel's teacher twice, once on the first day and once at a concert, passing her in the hallway. And I felt really cut off and really disconnected from her learning and her teachers and the school community because of, and I think they were probably kind of good reasons, but they went kind of crazy. And so, yeah, no parents were allowed in the school. And so that is the absolute opposite of beaches, where you're allowed to drop your kid off at the classroom door, and you just, connect a little bit with the other parents and say hi to the teachers. And so little kind of it just makes you feel connected to the kind of everyday rhythms of your kids' education in a way that is really important, it feels like, and that all sorts of, friendly adults that are in the hallways all the time, and other parents, and you really feel like you become a kind of surrogate parent to the whole school community. So so I would say that is a huge difference, and it is kind of hard to express what the beaches vibe is, because they do follow the Ontario curriculum, as has been said, but there is just a very different spirit there. And so there doesn't seem to be a real feeling of homeschool separation. Like it's a homey feeling at school. And I think that in terms of, I don't know the science behind this, but I'm sure in terms of learning, that just kind of calms everybody down, and it's a really chilled out vibe. And I think that's a great, a great atmosphere to learn in. So that's what I have to say about beaches. I don't know if there was, forget what my questions were. I don't know if I have any questions. Yeah, I think I've covered that. I'm happy to answer any questions later in the program.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Lisa. Our next parent is Vanessa.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Vanessa. I have twins that are in grade 2 this year, and I have a daughter who's 4 who's in JK this year. So we've been at Beaches for about 6 years. Luckily, the twins got in for their JK year, so this is the only experience with school that they've had, and we feel so lucky that this is how they've all started. We chose Beaches because we were really looking for a community school with a holistic and collaborative approach to education. We were looking for a school that really fostered relationships between parents, staff, and kids to give them some sense of autonomy and empowerment over their own education. It was really important for us, for our kids to love learning and to develop that sense of becoming lifelong learners. So the question that I received was, does Beaches offer more time outdoors than the typical recess and lunchtime? And so this was touched on in the video as well. So we have monthly nature mornings at Beaches. And these are either run by a parent volunteer or they're run by the classroom teacher. So for the older students, they have trips to the ravine, which is just south of Kingston Road. It's a nice little walk down, and then they spend the morning outside doing all kinds of really great activities. And the afternoons, I've heard from teachers, are always very quiet. And when you pick up your child after a nature morning, they sleep really well. So it's a really nice experience for everybody. For the younger kids, the kindergarten kids, they spend the first portion of the year doing nature mornings in the schoolyard. So they're getting acquainted with the school, the teachers are getting to know the students and what their needs are. And then when they feel like they're ready, then they start to take walks down to the ravine as well. And it's a really lovely experience. And we've had such a great time. And again, we just feel so lucky that we're at Beaches. So the next parent up is Andrea.
Thanks, Vanessa. So I'm probably going to repeat what Lisa and Vanessa have already said. I have a son who's in grade 2 and a daughter who's in JK. And we got the call actually a week into school for my son. So my kids had a daycare that was really Waldorf led. It was all outside. And we just really wanted to continue that type of learning. It was really small. We had a community around this group, and we wanted the same thing. And we had actually decided to keep him in this daycare for his JK year, because we were devastated that we didn't get a spot in Beaches. And then a week into the school year, we got this call from Tessa, and it was like literally winning the lottery. And I still feel like that to this day. I feel so fortunate that we have these spots. And I can say that everything that Vanessa said about this type of learning, where it's inclusive and the teachers are like just on board with you, and you get to go in and talk to them every day about the day your child had, the emotions they felt, what they've learned, what, you know, all of these little moments that you just aren't always, you wouldn't be privy to. And I, you know, the fact that we have this is not lost on me. The luck that we are privileged in this situation, I just feel so lucky. And I think that for this year, I probably really, it was really hard, you know, if you have a kid going into JK, which probably a lot of you will have, with COVID, it's scary because, you know, you think of your 4 or 3-year-old in a mask all day and social distancing and everything. But I can honestly say, and my daughter's quite shy and reserved, I can honestly say she's sort of blossomed in Susan and Jen's class, and they have made it feel so welcoming, and we miss them so much. But even the virtual learning, it just brings like this sunshine into our day for my daughter, and it's great, really. It's great. And even virtual for my son, you know, nobody's happy about the situation, but this has made it less so. That, you know, we're all coping, and we're coping with our community, and it's so nice to know that we're all at home, and everybody, all of our parents, we're all in the same boat, and we can connect with one another, and there's real friendships that have formed with the teachers and the parents, and it's just a wonderful community. And I mean, I think that's probably, I'm just repeating a lot of things, and I don't think there's any. I've tried to answer some questions on the side, and I'm happy to answer more questions, but I would, you know, wholeheartedly encourage you to apply to Beaches, because it really is like, it is winning the lottery. I can't really put it any other way. So thank you. And I don't know who's next. I didn't, who's Aaron or?
That's it, Andrea. That's all the.
Okay, good. Thanks, Nick. Thanks. I don't.
All right. Thank you. So that wraps up the answers to the pre-submitted questions. Now we're going to go live and answer some questions that were submitted by the participants. Bear with me while I pull up these questions and I go through them. Okay, so here we go. The first question is that I submitted an application 3 days ago, but I have not received a confirmation. How long should I wait to receive the confirmation before following up? Anyone could jump in and feel free to answer.
Sorry, was the application submitted to Tessa or in our general mailbox? I just needed to know.
It doesn't specify to whom it was submitted to.
So normally when Tessa, if the email was sent to Tessa, then she will respond with an email to say that she's received it. If it's in the general mailbox, I'll have to go in and check that, as she hasn't had access to that. So I'll go through, I'll check that, and I'll get back to whoever's in that.
Okay, great, thanks. Next question, perhaps one of the teachers could address this one, is can you give an example of what experiential learning looks like? And when giving these examples, perhaps one at the JK level and then one at the older level.
I'll go first. In the kindergarten program, we have our own kindergarten play yard. It's a series of structures outside that's gated off. And depending on the weather, we do a variety of things. When on the hotter days, we do water experiments, or we open up the mud kitchen and we create many things. On the colder days, we have sleds and shovels. And on the nature morning days, when we had them, and we'll have them back, we do a lot of experiments. We've done pulley experiments and tent and animal habitat activities. So there's always something going on, and there's a lot of learning through play as well. We're out there for over an hour every day. And the kids begin to, right now, just before Christmas, it was just a lot of soccer for one group, and then other kids were running around being animals, and then other times we have balls out. So the actual free play is part of the learning, but we also have programmed experiential learning within the schoolyard. And as Vanessa said, usually by February, when the ice has gone away, or March, we do make it over to the ravine, which is gorgeous. And there are so many activities over there that we've done as far as experiential learning in the forest, from season work to building structures to cooperative play activities. So in kindergarten, I forget, was the question about outdoors or just experiential in general? Because certainly we do follow the inquiry-based program for kindergarten, where we do explore different subjects and inquire into how things are made or how things are done. So we follow the kindergarten curriculum that way. Did an older teacher, an older grade, want to talk about experiential learning?
Sure. I can jump in from my level, and then Maya can add whatever you want. Does that make sense? So in the sort of a grade 3-4 classroom, experiential learning might look like readers' theater opportunities as part of our language program. So students either writing a play and then performing it through a readers' theater, or using a script and play that we've already got and performing it that way. Reading buddies, often with usually with Susan's class, the JKSK class. So we're now, again, we weren't able to do that this year because of COVID and our cohorts that we're working within. But the Reading Buddies program is really popular with the grade 3-4s because it's their first opportunity to sort of be in a leadership role within the school and to apply their learning, their reading strategies and things, and be the big kids as they're reading to the younger kids. So that's always an exciting opportunity for them in grade 3 and 4. In science, we do a lot of hands-on experiments as part of our learning and things. We've got a full set of gears and pulleys that kids are working with and designing, and sort of applying the learning, the theoretical piece of it, as they're designing their own working machines and things with pulleys and gears. And that's at the grade 3-4 level, or sorry, the grade 4 level. The grade 3s do a lot of building as well, using found materials and some other kits and things that we've got at the school for part of their structure building. So sort of using a lot of the those opportunities in science and language mainly. Maya, anything you want to add to that? Or from sort of the 5-6 perspective, I guess?
Yeah, I'll just add that especially in the older grades, we really strive to go on as many field trips as we can, also under normal circumstances. I've accompanied classes to City Hall. We have, you know, the kids go on ski trips. We try and schedule field trips according to different sort of inquiry studies that might be happening in the classroom. So it's definitely sort of a part of that Beaches philosophy to really get out into the community and try and go on as many field trips as we can.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. I forgot to mention about the Q&A. Try to submit them with the Q&A button at the bottom of your screens there. It probably will work a little bit better that way. Okay, so our next question is, do we have any aftercare programs, or do we coordinate with any aftercare programs?
I can speak to that. Certainly, a lot of the kindies are in Community Center 55, which is an agency across the street, which actually has the daycare space within our school. And for the last couple of years, it's been a seamless transition, and that the daycare room that the kindies go to is in our actual classroom. So there's not as many transitions for the students. The older kids, I believe, I think Carol, you can speak to this. The 3-4s, do they go into rooms with other 3-4s from Kimberley for daycare? Okay, so there is Community Center 55, which has great programming, takes kids from both beaches in Kimberley, and has the after school and certainly the before school in the kindergarten that I know of. I don't know about the older grades.
Okay, thank you, Susan. I know I said, do we have any aftercare programs? But we, with Center 55, we do have the before and aftercare programs, just to clarify that. Someone's asking, what's the average class sizes?
So with kindergarten, the class sizes are 20 because in grade 1 to 3, we have to cap them at 20. Our grade 1-2 class, there are 10 grade 1s and there are 10 grade 2s. Then we have a grade 3-4 split class, and because it's a 3-4, so it's a primary and a junior class, it goes up to 23 students. So there is usually the 10 grade 2s will move up, but there will be some spots open in the grade 3-4. And then our 5-6 can go up to 25 students.
Okay, thanks, Rueda. When will we know when spots will be available?
Sorry. So as I said, in February, Tessa will connect with families that are currently in beaches, and especially with this year being a unique year, we have some that are virtual or have chosen homeschooling. So she will connect with all of our families to find out who will continue in the program. And once we know that, then we'll know how many spots are available in the other grades. As of right now, there'll be the 10 spots in JK. Siblings do have, if there are siblings already in the schools, there's the priority given to siblings for JK spots. All people are notified March 8th. The lottery takes place, and that's when we make the offers March 8th.
Okay, great. What types of students or personalities would thrive in the kindergarten classes? And also, there's a second part to that question. What personalities are better suited to traditional school formats as opposed to beaches?
I'll take the kindergarten question. Certainly, any child will thrive in the environment. It's curious kids learn, and we take their interests and run with it. We have a reading and writing program, and we have math units that certainly we do cover through different kinds of lessons. But the shy kid does really well, and the really curious kid who wants to try everything in the middle of 10 minutes, they also do really well. It's when the centers are open, when COVID is not here, there's variety of the child who is curious, or perhaps the one who would prefer to color. We would encourage them to try different things. And certainly in COVID times, we've restructured everything. So there still are many opportunities to be engaged in different activities. They're just at different locations and require a lot of sanitation. So any child would thrive in the kindergarten program we have. We've had many different types of kids, and both teachers in the program have our own children. So we certainly understand the different personalities and the different interests of kids.
Okay, great. Thank you, Susan. Do we offer an advanced curriculum?
With regards to we don't offer an advanced curriculum. We offer the Ontario curriculum. But if your child is working if your child is gifted and on an individual education plan, we do have that in place, and we will sort of challenge them. We'll abide by what is stated in the IEP. So there is opportunities for challenges for the students, but it's not an advanced curriculum.
Okay, thank you. With so many parents and guardians going in and out of the school, are there any safety concerns or security concerns?
So with, I know with the beaches, all the parents complete the screening, the screening that we do for volunteers. All parents come through the front door, which is locked, so they do have to come in the front door and go through the main office. So we do know who's in the building. It's not just people walking in from different entry points. It is through the front door. And like I said, all the parents complete their screening when they are volunteering with students.
Okay. Do the families at beaches, do the kids at beaches, the questions are moving around on me, sorry. Can you speak to the diversity of the school population at beaches? And what do we do to foster diversity at the school?
So we do have a diverse population, but if you look at other areas, depending on where you're living and things, but we do have students, visible minorities, and we have a variety of students too with different learning, different needs. What we do for me coming in as a new administration, for me is to learn what's currently in place at the school and working with the staff, the families, and the students and building on that rather than starting different, but also looking at how we can grow what we currently have. I think the best thing is to have, as a leader, it starts with me and setting that tone and example in the school, including the students in the learning thing. And I like to have the students be part of that whole monthly character traits, because I think them learning the different character traits and setting that example of respect, responsibility allows students to respect each other. They take responsibility for their actions. So developing those skills with the students allows for conversations in the classrooms, but also conversations as a staff so that staff feel comfortable. So building those relationships are key and important.
Okay, thanks, Rueda. Do we have any evidence to indicate how our children do after they leave beaches, say when they integrate into traditional middle schools and high schools?
I feel like I can speak to that a little bit. My daughter entered beaches in grade 5 and with Rebecca, and had an incredibly stimulating time that re-engaged her love of learning. And that was the thing that we really felt was getting kind of squished in our other school. And she's going to a small, highly academic private school now. And that was kind of on her steam, and she studied really hard to get in, and it really felt like she had a sense of how to work and how to follow her curiosity, and it felt like that she was really set up for success in quite quite a challenging school environment that she's in. So that was our experience. So yeah.
Okay, great. The next question deals with applying to beaches. Would we recommend applying to beaches at the same time enrolling at our catchment school, just to make sure that we have a place for a kid if we're not successful at beaches? And I guess that's the general question. Do we recommend applying both at our regular catchment school and beaches at the same time?
So if you're applying to beaches, it would be optional. If for your regular school, you do not need to apply for, sorry, let me just read. When you're applying to beaches, and if you get in, great. If not, you can apply to your home school at any time. Because that will be your home school, they have to take you at your home school. So you do not have to apply to your home school until you know whether you're going to get into beaches or not.
Okay. with some of the extracurricular activities that we do, like skiing, the winter camps and so forth, recognizing that these things may cost money, do we have any assistance for lower income families?
So we do realize that not all families can afford all the trips and things. In our school budget, we do put aside amounts for excursion for trips and things. So there is funding for that. Also through fundraising, school fundraising, some of that is put towards helping families with excursions or anything else that they need support with.
Okay, next question is a fun question. What is Family Friday like? I guess I can jump in. Sorry, go ahead.
Family Friday is the thing that happens one Friday a month where any parents who can spare the time can come in and participate in creating kind of basically like an arts event happening in the whole school at once. And so kids move from classroom to classroom, going to different stations that the parents have either created or are, at the stations helping kids, as they say, bead or do kind of, we've had different Family Friday themes about cultures around the world, and different parents from different backgrounds have come in and shared parts of their culture and learned how to make sushi and done, tattoos from the Philippines. And so it's just a really cozy, friendly, wild day. And it really builds a feeling of school community. I think maybe other people. Nick, why don't you had stuff to say, why don't you jump in too?
Yeah. I think what I enjoyed about Family Fridays is just having an opportunity to interact with the other parents and seeing how our kids get along with their friends and so forth, and kind of seeing them in their element, right? And I guess in traditional schools, we don't have that opportunity. And that's one of the benefits here at Beaches. Like we have things like Family Fridays and other events where we can kind of, not network, but kind of interact with the other parents and the other children, kind of a sense of being a part of a bigger family sort of thing. So that's what I appreciated specifically about Family Friday and other similar events.
I just wanted to add that as a teacher, Family Friday is really neat to me because I get to learn about all of the students in the whole school. I get to see students that I don't normally teach. I get to see the younger kids. I get to see them interacting with the older kids. I get to see grandparents and parents. So it just really feels like we're all together. My favorite Family Friday was when a parent came in to talk about when she had lived in Syria previously, and she showed us some amazing photographs she had taken. The students worked on creating pamphlets on life in our community, where for new Syrian families coming to Kimberley and the surrounding community. So where the library was, what winter is like in Toronto. And we also, a parent brought in some Syrian food for some of the kids to try for the very first time. It was a really, really meaningful experience for the whole school.
If I could add too about Family Fridays, what I value as a parent is that the kids are going into all the different classrooms. And so the message really is that this school belongs to everybody who's there. And there is not any place that those kids don't belong, which really helps when the kids are moving up the grades because they're familiar with all of those rooms. They're familiar with all of the teachers. It's like everybody belongs to everybody and everybody belongs everywhere. It's powerful.
Okay, thanks, guys. How does our school compare to Montessori school? Teachers, this is for you.
I can actually talk about this because both of my own children went through a Montessori program until grade 1. It's an interesting question, that's for sure. My own knowledge of the Montessori program is that it is highly structured. It depends on the accreditation certification of whatever Montessori program it is and how much they adhere to that Montessori curriculum. However, although it is very structured and some might even say kind of rigid, they do focus on a lot of life skills. And for my children's own education, outdoor learning was a big priority. Those are a couple of things that I connect to as far as beaches. That just something I can offer about Montessori versus beaches. At beaches, we use the Ontario curriculum, which is not close to the Montessori curriculum. However, there are, a lot of those Montessori skills sort of embedded within the things that we do. Nature morning, for instance, and some of the things that come out on Family Friday, a lot of the skills learned in the kindergarten class, especially different sorts of life skills, fine motor activities, that kind of thing. It's not structured into the Ontario curriculum like it is in a Montessori program. But at beaches, we do try and help students develop that sense of identity and autonomy. It's important to us to see them grow up as their own individuals. And so that's maybe a similarity there.
Okay, thank you, Maya. Approximately how many applications do we receive every year for JK?
Sorry, I don't know. That's something I will have to find out from Tessa, but as of right now, I'm not sure unless somebody else knows the answer.
I know
I
the
think,
year that we applied. Sorry, Susan.
Go ahead, Andrea.
The year we applied, I think Tessa told me there was around 60, and that was in 2017.
And Susan, how many kids are there in the JK-SK class on a combined basis?
So yeah, it's a 2-year program, and we have 10 in they call it year 2, the senior kindergartens, and 10 in the junior. So our juniors will move up to senior, and then we'll have 10 positions or 10 spots available for new students coming in. But to agree with Andrea, I think it's usually around 50 that apply.
So the total class is about 20?
The maximum has to be 20 because I can only move 10 onto Jimmy's class because the 1-2 can only have 20. The elementary numbers are capped at 20. So I can only ever have 10 and 10 because I can only send 10 up.
Okay. The next question is our EQAO scores are apparently low. Why is this?
EQAO scores can vary, but it also depends if some parents choose not to have their child write the EQAO, that impacts the scores as well because they're counted in the finals data as well. And if one student doesn't write, it can impact school scores by 3 to 5%. And also our numbers in the beaches, it's very small numbers. So a 3 to 5% is a big impact on those scores. And again, like I said, a student can get a 2.9 instead of a 3. And again, just that 0.1 difference would impact our data by 3 to 5% again. So there are varying reasons as to why the EQAO data, the scores are so low. And I always tell students and parents, it's more the EQA test, it's more for teachers to use to see what we can do to help our students learn better.
What's the connection between Kimberly and beaches?
So as the teacher said, I'm new to the school, so I can just talk about what I've seen this year. But we do and music program. We have the same recesses, the same lunch time. The kids, if we were eating in the gym cafeteria, we all eat in that same space and they go out together. But the curriculum is the same, but again, the Beaches program looks a bit different because it is more family oriented and experiential learning. I don't know if any of the other teachers can answer that any further or add to it.
And I think from a practical perspective, Kimberly's the actual physical school. I mean, I'm not too sure if this was a question, but Kimberly's the actual school in our catchment, and Beaches is sort of hosted within that school. That's how it's actually set up. So both Kimberly and Beaches.
And just to add to that, the Beaches.
Sorry, go ahead.
With a room allocation, so yeah, the the Beaches program, the junior kindergarten, senior kindergarten, and the grade 1-2 class are in the main floor. The 3-4 class and the 5-6 class are in the portable normally, but this year because of the COVID and the numbers and things, we have moved our grade 3-4 class upstairs because our numbers were high and just to allow for more space between the students.
Okay, thank you. And the last question is, how do we handle bullying in our school?
So again, it depends on the situation. If a situation does come to the teacher or to the office, it's usually done collaboratively where the teacher will sit down and talk. Again, it depends on each individual situation. If it's something that's happening, we find at recess and it's happening with multiple kids in the classroom and that kind of thing, we address it as a whole class. If it's a name calling, like I said, through those character development traits that we do, we try and address it through that. And for me, it's going into the classroom and instead of centering kids out, it's doing it as a whole class activity on respect, on responsibility, on working together as a team, on kindness and caring, and having the whole school involved in that process.
I would also say that the feedback from my kids is that is a rare phenomenon at the school, and maybe because it is so small and everybody knows each other, there's kind of less Lord of the Flies situations going on. I don't know, but another thing, my Leo, who is in grade 4, said is in grade 3 rather. He said, he really experiences the feeling of community there, and he said, you just feel happy there. So I think people would be really responsive to those issues if they came up, and the teachers are so accessible, and it really feels like you're having a deep conversation with the teachers about your kid, and they really know your kid. And so I would really feel like those are problems that could really get resolved at Beaches in a way that might be more difficult at other schools. I don't know.
And myself too, specifically, what I think helps is that the parents know each other. So if there's ever an issue that arises, personally speaking, we email each other, we meet each other. We're always dropping our kids off at the school, picking them up, walking home with each other, and we're able to root things out this way. As Lisa was saying, I think knowing each other really helps deal with this issue. That's it for the Q&A. I guess if anyone has any, okay, a question just popped up. They missed the answer on the daycare situation. So I'm gonna answer it, and if anyone wants to jump in, they can do that. We have an arrangement with Center 55, which is a community center right across the street from Beaches. and we have an arrangement with them where they kind of they can enter the school and arrange before care and after care care for all the kids in the school. Does anyone want to add on to that?
They also offer a lunch program, or they have in the past, which is excellent. It's catered by Real Food for Real Kids. And that's for all grades from JK up to grade 6.
All right, so that's it for the Q&A. If anyone has questions after this live session, is there anywhere they can submit the questions? Does anyone know? Like a general email sort of account or something like that? Okay, moving on. Rueda will now discuss the application process.
So again, just to reiterate what I said, with regards to the application, you submit your application. It is by lottery only. We have 10 spots for junior kindergarten. And then again, it will depend on how many parents are, how many families are returning or not. Will let us know how many spots we have in the other grades. Once you submit your application, the lottery process will take place on March 8th. Applications are due March 1st by 12 noon. And if you send it to the general mailbox, I'll make sure that Tessa gets those so she can respond to you to acknowledge that we've received them.
Okay, I believe that wraps up our webinar for tonight. Hopefully we provided you guys with enough information to make a decision, and we've answered all your questions. And thank you all for joining us, and we wish you all the best of luck, and hopefully we'll see some of you guys next year or September this year. Okay guys, take care.